we don't rewear our clothes enough. And so I'm rewearing this sweater from Source Unknown, and I'm going to keep rewearing it because cost per wear. Okay. You need to actually wear your clothes. I don't know what it is. People are so afraid to just, oh my God, that somebody saw me in it already. Duh. That's the point. They should see you in it. And again, and again, and again. Hi guys. Welcome back to another coffee chit chat video. You already know where my top is from. I'm just wearing basic jeans, so I'm not even gonna get up and show you. It's not worth it. And then my glasses are from Bonnie Clyde LA, in case you're wondering. Today we are gonna do a Q&A. I do this on my Instagram story I say once a month. Sometimes I do it twice a month if I'm feeling, I have extra time on my hands. But generally once a month, I'll post on my Instagram story, like, ask me anything. People ask me stuff about clothes, about skincare, about career. This time around, I got a lot of questions about career. I said specifically to ask me questions for YouTube. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to get into that Q&A. If you're not following me on Instagram, you definitely should. So you can submit your questions for the next time that I do this. Make sure you're following me there, and TikTok and Substack. And also, I forgot to say this in the other videos. I reopened my resume redo service. I took it down because I did it for like 2 or 3 years, and then I started doing consults and resumes and telling people about it on TikTok. People would book the service, get their resume, and dispute the charge with their bank. Or people would get the consult, have the conversation with me, and then dispute the charge with their bank. And mind you, they would email me saying like, oh, thank you so much, X, Y, and Z. And I just assumed like maybe it was expensive. At that time, I think I was charging $175 to write resumes. Now the fee is $300. I used to charge $175 when I was like fresh out of college. Now I'm almost 10 years out of college, so price has gone up a little bit. And then for consults, I actually kept the price the same. It's $80 for 15 minutes and then $150 for 30 minutes, but you get a lot in that. I can review your resume in the 30 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever. Anyway, I didn't like that people were disputing it because I felt like it was inconsiderate of my time and the fact that you appreciated the service, but you just were scamming me essentially. So after that happened a couple of times, I was like, I'm done. But I've gotten a lot of DMs, emails, messages. You guys have been telling me to bring it back. So I'm bringing it back for a short period of time. I'll probably stop it in June. I don't want to do it for too long. So it's there. Visit careersavage.com. Let's hop into this video. Okay. Someone said, your coffee always looks so good. Please make a video showing us. Okay. So that person obviously doesn't watch the coffee chit chat videos, because in the coffee chit chat videos, I show you guys how I make my coffee, but I'll say it as a voiceover. I generally make my coffee in my Breville espresso machine, and it's the touchscreen one. So I can program like my latte, my Americano, and I had to like adjust the grind size. I use Kenyan coffee beans exclusively. Like my fiance is a coffee snob. So am I. But if I buy beans that are not Kenyan coffee, he's like, ew, take it back, because we just love that coffee so much. And we've tried every coffee that you could possibly imagine. But yeah, that's the coffee that I use. And then the milk I use is Minor Figures. It's really great for frothing. I just kind of eyeball the milk and then I froth it in the steamer wand. And that's pretty much it. And I only use honey in my coffee. If we run out of honey, I will substitute with brown sugar. My fiance makes sure we don't run out of honey. He makes sure we don't run out of honey because I will be so irritated. So yeah, he makes sure that we have enough honey in the house. As a director, what do you enjoy and don't? What do you do on a day/weekly basis? Okay, so as a director of regulatory, you generally will be responsible for a program. I'm not going to say the programs I'm responsible for because that's too much private information to put online, but let's say hypothetically speaking, I was working in oncology and I was overseeing a breast cancer study. As the director, I would probably have like a manager that reports to me, and it depends on the size of the organization as well. But for me, I'm going to say generally what I do is overseeing the IND applications that the studies are under, making sure that all the investigators in the study have their documentation submitted to the IND, making sure that all the documents that need to be updated simultaneously as the study are going are submitted to the application, overseeing protocol amendments. So if something needs to be adjusted to the inclusion criteria, exclusion criteria, because things are happening as the study is ongoing, I am responsible for overseeing that whole like protocol amendment process, getting input from the medical professionals, the clinical professionals to make sure everything makes sense and making sure that the amendments are in compliance with the regulations. I also work on a lot of like quality stuff, SOPs, writing SOPs, amending SOPs, coming up with various plans for issues that may occur throughout the clinical development process. I am also responsible on this is more broad. I can't say day to day because it like varies. I'm also responsible for like reading various regulations that come out with the new administration. Things are constantly changing. Like those executive orders that President Trump was spitting out on January 20th or whatever the day it was changing ripples throughout the industry. So as a person in regulatory affairs, I'm supposed to understand how those executive orders impact my organization and disseminate that information to leadership so we can make the accurate decisions. I'm responsible for planning forward. It depends on what stage of development the study's in. If it's in phase 1, I'm meant to be planning for phase 2. If it's phase 2, I'm meant to be planning for phase 3. I'm also responsible for authoring documents to get various designations for the programs that I work on. I'm rambling. It's a lot of reading, it's a lot of administrative work, and it's a lot of writing. I do a lot of writing and reading research articles that can further support whatever we are trying to inform the FDA of. And obviously leveraging data that we have, but if you don't have data, you kind of have to use literature references. So that's the gist. I have a lot of meetings each day, and then most of my working days are like the second half of the week. I have a lot of meetings the first half, and the second half is like I can actually write, I can actually organize. I'm responsible for working with our vendors, so I do a lot of vendor management as well. It kind of just depends. And the more capable you are within clinical research and development, the more responsibilities they'll give you. You see, I said I do a lot of stuff with quality. That's because my organization feels comfortable with my capabilities to leverage my skill set to another function. Even though I'm not a quality professional, I have quality experience. So I hope that helps. It's more broad. I would say in regulatory, we have like goals, and my job on a day and weekly basis is to make sure we are in alignment to reach that goal. Yeah. If you want to know more about regulatory, watch my Regulatory Affairs Explained series. It's harder to explain my day-to-day and my week-to-week because I cannot say where I work. So hopefully that's helpful. Are YouTube and Insta part of your personal brand that brings you clients for your consulting? So I actually stopped consulting, so no. Instagram and TikTok are more so like my lifestyle platforms. And I would say YouTube is more where I give like informational content. I recently just made that switch because on TikTok, I was doing a lot of career content. I was doing a lot of like book a consult resume, and then I stopped and started doing more just like lifestyle. And then Instagram, I still post all three. So it's like lifestyle, career, beauty. I posted on all three, but mainly YouTube, I feel like is where now I would get more for my consulting business. All of it's a part of my personal brand though. PhD student and want to build experience, part-time contract are goals, but I don't know what to do. I mean, I don't know what your concentration was in your PhD or what your focus was, but I would try and find opportunities that are in alignment with your concentration. So if you did your PhD in like maternal mortality or maternal health, I would try and find opportunities in any function. It doesn't really matter because you're saying you don't have experience. I would try and find any experience with that concentration. Again, there's not much information there, so it's hard for me to give you the best possible advice, but I would just look for contracts maybe in quality. I say quality because it's hard to give advice without knowing what your exact concentration is, but I would just use LinkedIn to start exploring what is out there and see what roles you could leverage your skill set to in the jobs that are available, and then target your resume and your LinkedIn profile to what you see are available where your skill set aligns, if that makes sense. I always work backwards. So if I wanted to right now get a job in tech as a product manager, I would look at product manager job titles on LinkedIn and then read the description and see and start highlighting like, okay, I've kind of done this before. My experience goes here with this. This makes sense. And then I would tailor my resume for those opportunities and see if I'm getting contacted. And then if I get contacted, I would talk to the recruiters and ask for feedback on my resume and on my profile and kind of go from there. But again, it's hard to give you advice without knowing what exactly your PhD is in. Are you taking contracts in US only, or is it something you can do with a UE company? I have been offered to interview for contracts that are based in the UK. I kind of documented that process on my TikTok. I didn't take it, obviously. Some of them were public health roles, some of them were regulatory roles. I can take a contract from a UK company. One of the companies that I have a contract with or had a contract with, they have a US based company and they also have an EU based company. And I can work with the EU company or the US company. It's just easier for them to pay me through their US company. So it doesn't really matter. Like, as long as the company is willing to do business with you, it doesn't matter. I personally don't know if I would accept a contract from UK or EU right now, just because the time difference from Los Angeles to those places is kind of brutal. How did you manage working full time while working contract opportunities? I had a lot of determination, a lot of grit. I was saving for my house, saving for like my jaw surgery, just saving in general. So I was really committed, and I really did want to get like a good amount of comfort before I left my full-time job to do consulting full-time. So I just was kind of determined. Not everybody can do it. It's very exhausting. I'm not going to lie to you. It's very stressful, but doing it at that time, it just worked for me. I was able to balance it, and my clients were very chill. So I wasn't getting called or pinged all the time. I would decline emails and meetings all the time, and they were fine with it as long as I was getting getting my job done. So yeah. Do you have a CPA you trust? Been looking for one in the creator space with no luck. Love that you asked me this. So actually, I work with Otto, OTTO. They're pretty much full service. They have bookkeepers that do all my bookkeeping, thank God, because I couldn't handle doing any bookkeeping. And they actually do it for my consulting business as well. So not just like my content creation business, but my regulatory affairs consulting firm. They do my bookkeeping. They do all my tax filings with California as well as the IRS. They give you advice as well on how to like optimize your finances. I feel like the team is really great. They're on the ball. I can text and call them for absolutely anything. They are very committed to helping creators, but not like just creators, also small business owners such as myself. I've gone through so many CPAs you don't even know. I had one CPA that I was working with, and I come to find out at the end of the year, they just didn't do any of my bookkeeping. So I was left high and dry. I had to find a random company, which I found Bench. Didn't like Bench at all. I quickly, you know what? I did like Bench at first because I was like, ooh, this is techie. Like they have this cool software platform. The customer service is horrible. It's hard to talk to absolutely anyone. They don't really give you much financial advice. They outsource you to another accountant, which they outsourced me to this other guy. And anytime I wanted to ask him a question, even if it was just like 15, 20 minutes, he was going to charge me $250. He charged you for everything. He was on the phone with you and you were breathing, you were getting charged. So I was like, okay, I don't like that. Then I went to this other company and they were pretty good, but I also felt like they were so expensive. With Otto, I feel like they're affordable, they are reliable, and they are great with communication and customer service. That's all I'm looking for, someone I can trust and get my finances done. Because when you go independent and start working for yourself freelance, it's kind of scary, and navigating the financial aspects is something I didn't want to stress about. So that's who I use. What career do you think has more growth? Reimbursement, HEOR, regulatory affairs? That's a good question. For those who don't know, health economics research stands for HEOR, and those are people who kind of do like market access work. I would say regulatory affairs has more growth reimbursement. You can say I'm biased, but it's because it's harder to get into. There's less jobs and it's still lucrative. So when there is a job function where there's a lot of work that needs to be done and a lot of responsibility, but not a lot of people with experience in that area, there's always going to be more money because it's like supply and demand. So like even right now with the economy being bad, regulatory salaries have not changed. They're still going up. When the economy was bad 2 years ago, 3 years ago during COVID, and people were like, oh, it's hard to find a job, and like companies aren't paying as much, regulatory affairs was still going up. So I would say regulatory has a better return on its investment. But HEOR pays out as well too. I also think it's more about your degrees because they pay you for your degrees and your location. They pay you more if you live in California or New York. I'm looking to move from a manager to associate director in regulatory affairs. Any tips for me? Good question. My main tip would be likely if you're not getting promoted at the place that you're in right now, you probably have to leave. I feel like you'd probably have a better opportunity of getting that next title pay bump by going to a different organization. And if you already have tried that and you feel like you're not getting contacted for the associate director level roles, it's likely because you haven't had the opportunity to lead on certain things that they expect from an associate director. So I would say within your current organization, ask to take on more responsibilities. Also, that's the thing. Normally for a manager, it's like manager and then senior manager and then associate director. Or they'll say like manager can go from senior director / associate director. It just depends on how much experience you've had. As an associate director, you should have submitted a couple INDs by yourself. You should have supported the filing of a couple marketing applications. You should be able to provide strategic guidance. You should be well versed in global regulatory affairs. And if you're not, or you only have like one of the three and you need two of the three within your corner organization, I would say you should ask for more responsibilities to expose yourself, and then you can leverage what you gain from those opportunities for your associate director job somewhere else if your company's still not willing to give it to you. Some companies, I feel like they won't promote you because in their minds, they don't see you at that level because of how you operated within the organization for a certain period of time. And sometimes you just have to leave to get the role that you're looking for. How did you start your career as a consultant? What do you suggest to new aspirants? I made a video about this, how to build a 7-figure business in 2025. Go watch that video. I give a step-by-step. And I also have made so many videos about this on TikTok. But essentially, how I got started was just accepting a part-time contract while I had a full-time job. Genuinely. That contract fell through, and then I went back to my full-time job. After that, I took a break and I was like, you know what? I want to work for myself. So I started looking for contracts and asking those contracting companies if I could do it as a corp to corp. And that's basically how it happened. How I learned about contracts and like working as a vendor for pharmaceutical companies and stuff was because I worked for a consulting firm. I always tell people the best way to do it is to learn from somebody who's already done it. Go to a consulting company, see how they operate, see how their business development works, see how they get contracts, see how much they charge, charge, and you will learn it's not that hard to be a consultant. It's just doing it under your corporation. So watch that video that I'm talking about specifically. And then if you are still like not confident enough, because I do feel like it does take some gusto, go work for a consulting firm and see how they do it. And then you'll get more courage to be able to like go out and do it on your own. How did you get contracts while working full time? I moonlighted. So I would work from 6 a.m. to 9 because I worked remotely. And if I had to work, I got like a part-time contract. So you only have to work like 4 hours a day. So I would do from 6 to 9 for an East Coast company. Nobody is awake for the California-based company. Then I would do my 9 to 5 from 9 to 5. And then I would log back on from like 6 to 7 because I would take a break for my part-time job, or sometimes I just wouldn't even log that extra hour if I was too tired, because you technically don't have to work the 20 hours. If you work less, they just pay you less. If you work more, they just pay you more. So that's essentially how I first started doing it while I had a full-time job. It's just called moonlighting. How do you figure out what to charge, what you're worth, and your rates? So for content creation, I have my management team. I have an agent and a manager that figure out my rates. But for regulatory affairs, I just do market rates. So I'll just like scour LinkedIn and see, because in California, they have to post what the job pays. I'll just look at the job title that I'm applying for and like make sure that's industry standard, and also make sure that's what I'm comfortable with. Me, it always comes down to the end number of like what I'm taking home each month. So as long as I'm comfortable with that, that's basically how I come up with my rates, is just research. And then I trust my team on my creator side to be charging what also makes sense for my follower count and my engagement. What's the hardest or most annoying part about your workload, and any tips? It's a bit exhausting, I'm not gonna lie, the workload piece, but I find time to manage and take breaks. I told you guys I've been doing more of like the vlogs to show you like the entrepreneur diaries, how I still spend time with my friends, and I'm learning to find balance and not put too much pressure on myself. The most annoying part is I have to do a lot of stuff by myself, but I'm getting better. Like I have a video editor. That's how I'm able to show up consistently on YouTube. I have like systems of what I want to film, which makes it easier to do Instagram and TikTok, and I do it on the weekends. My fiance is really helpful with taking photos or like helping me come up with concepts and ideas. So I guess I'm giving you all like the things that make the hardest and annoying parts better, but that is it. It's a lot, but I just find ways. I feel like that's enough for this video. Those were a lot of questions. They were pretty much centered around like regulatory business and things of that nature. But anyway, I feel like this video is so long, but we answered enough questions for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this Q&A. Let me know if you want me to keep doing more Q&A style question and answer type stuff. Per usual, if you guys leave comments down below, I'll make a dedicated video, for the most part answering any questions that you have. Make sure you're following me on Instagram so you can submit your questions for the next Q&A video that I do on YouTube. I will see you guys in the next coffee chit chat. Until next time, bye.